Okay, so back when I had my brick and mortar shop, I would run full moon circles, and a couple times during these full moon circles, the topic of timeline jumping and timeline shifts and timelines in general came up, and people would talk about their experiences with, I think I jumped timelines, or I had a dream and it felt like it was in a different timeline. Mandela effect, these kinds of things would come up. And I loved it because this is a topic that I've kind of been playing with for a while, for a few years. I like to say that I've been working with the timelines because I have a bunch of theories around it. I've had a bunch of experiences around, whether it's parallel timelines, alternate timelines, timelines collapsing or merging into one. And these are things that I'm going to get into in some other videos. But for today, I really want to talk about this concept of the highest timeline, because for a while, that was something that I was consciously connecting with. And it's interesting that I'm talking about that in past tense because I feel like I'm still consciously connecting with the highest timeline. However, it's less on an individual scale and it's more on the collective scale. That's more my focus right now. However, for a while, I had a ritual. And so I talked about this in my moon circles when this topic would come up and people were asking questions. And I said that, there's a way that you can consciously, actively connect with your highest timeline and make that shift every single day if you choose. And there was a ritual that I used to perform every morning in the shower. And I would ask to be connected with my highest and purest timeline. And visualize that happening as part of the part of the shower, the water rushing over me, and stepping out of the shower was like a portal into this new timeline, or aligning back to the highest timeline as kind of like a daily reset ritual. And I would talk about this and tell people, like, if you want to try it out, see how this changes your life, make shifts. And however, it comes with a word of caution. There was always like this disclaimer that I would put out there, because the highest timeline doesn't necessarily mean that it's the easiest timeline, right? And what I mean by that is that the highest timeline is a place where the shadow has been transmuted, which means that you're going to be confronted with more challenges, more triggers, more opportunities to choose differently, to break patterns, to change your cycles, to change your habits and behaviors, things that aren't serving you, things that won't serve you in your highest timeline, so that you can embody this alternate vibration and frequency based upon your vision or your concept of what the highest timeline means. For me, that means living the most in alignment with my truth, what I consider to be the truth of this realm. And that means it's like a very healed version of myself. I have this theory that I think that, part of the reason that we incarnate in this dense 3D space is so that we can do healing work on ourselves, that our souls can evolve, that we can overcome any darkness or chaos or destructive patterns, behaviors, actions, traumas, things like this, karmas, whatever you want to call it, and transcend, so to speak. And so that's kind of how I envision the highest timeline for me coming about. And I noticed that when I would connect with this highest timeline, that's exactly what would happen. So these challenges, these difficulties, these opportunities for me to address the shadow parts of myself would come up regularly, and in a lot more obvious ways that you can't bypass them. And I do not recommend spiritual bypassing whatsoever. This whole love and light trend is great for sure to help you feel these positive vibrations and these higher emotions. However, we're human, and you still have to deal with the shit that comes up. And I was dealing with a lot of it, let's put it that way. So I would always say, like, yeah, if you really want to do this, if you want to jump to your timelines and test that out, be prepared. And really, that's what I think my message today is for the collective, is about be prepared. If we want humanity to be experiencing the highest timeline, then that means everything is going to be unveiled. This is not a walk in the park. This is the work. This is where the collective shadow needs to be transmuted and purged ultimately. And in order to do that, we have to face it. And there are a lot of really dark truths that are coming out. And yes, the world is on fire. It is what it is. We are seeing this play out on, in the small scale, in communities and families and cities. We're seeing this on the world stage as well in a really, really big way. All of the darkness is coming to light. Everything is being unveiled. We have to deal with it all, no exceptions, if we want to truly embody this highest timeline for all, in my opinion. So this is what we're really witnessing right now, and we're experiencing it firsthand. And if I'm being honest, I think that that's what we are here for. We're hearing a lot of things about people feeling like, that they're light workers, they're volunteers, they incarnated in this time in order to do this kind of work, to pull humanity out of this chaos, out of this darkness, and to usher in this new world, this new earth paradigm. And it's very exciting. The astrology matches it. I've talked about that in we're talking about, like, the 4 outer planets and how that's influencing humanity right now. And in particular, Saturn and Neptune. Let's talk about those 2 planets, because they have just recently transited into Aries, which is fire. It is like cardinal fire. It is hot and fast and quick. And I feel like that's why we feel like the world is on fire. That's it's part of it. It's all part of it. As above, so below. So what was our collective vision for this highest timeline? What did we want that to look like? I think it feels very similar to when I was connecting to my personal highest timeline. I feel like humanity is looking at it the same way, right? We're questioning things such as, the whole system. We're questioning the whole system. We're questioning society and how society works, and what connection looks like, what currency and money and value and trade, and what that looks like, and what the workforce should look like. The 9 to 5, as an example, or hustle culture, social media, politics, government, religion, the relationship between the so-called controllers of the realm, or the dark forces, right? Hollywood, entertainment, everything is being scrutinized. The medical industry, oil, energy, there's like talks about free energy and things like this. And history is under scrutiny as well, right? Like, if, as an example, if we can't trust what's in our media today, how can we trust what's in the history books, right? Especially when you know who they're written by. Just toss that out there. But basically everything, I feel like everything is being looked at, everything is being examined, and all the rocks are being overturned to find these shadows, to find these patterns, these cycles that we're experiencing as humanity. And what will come out of that, I think, is the complete breakdown and utter collapse of the system and the of the way that we're living right now, of all of these things that we've just kind of agreed upon and have decided are normal. What I'm really looking at or envisioning is going to come through is a complete restructure of the status quo. What is status quo is no longer acceptable, and it needs to be rebuilt. So of course the world is on fire right now. We're essentially calling out to burn it all down. This is the tower moment, like from tarot. It's the complete disassembling, crumbling of everything we know so that we can rebuild it and shape the future the way that that we want it to look. That we want it to look like in the highest timeline, in that vision for humanity where, we don't have to suffer. It doesn't have to be so hard. We don't have to eat each other and compete. And instead, we're working together. We're working for the greater good, for the highest good of all. And working with the land, working with the cycles and the seasons, which brings a different set of challenges. But I think it feels to me like a set of challenges that are more natural. Something that I'll talk about in another video as well is how we've been denatured as a species, as a collective, as humanity. We've been taken away from our nature and from nature itself. And I feel like the highest timeline is a return to that. That's my opinion. That's kind of what I'm seeing, out there. Let me know if you have other thoughts, or you want to know, or you want to contribute more to this conversation, because this is just my personal perspective based on my experiences, what I've seen talking to people in my community, to my clients, what I see in social media, what I see in groups that I'm involved in. And what I'm really excited for is in tarot, after the tower card comes the star. And the star card teaches us that we have the ability to create whatever we want, to literally take the elements of the universe and shape reality and to manifest. And so, I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a little uncomfortable for a bit. There are going to be challenges. There are harsh realities that must be faced. But in that, it's like, that's the phoenix rising from the ashes. When everything is burned down, then there is this ability to become stronger and to transmute and to become a completely different version of who we're meant to be. And it's like right now we're kind of in the darkness. We're in the pit of despair, so to speak. And after that, like when we come out of it, is the golden age. And that is super exciting. We can think of it as like a rebirth, even. And the birthing process itself is incredibly painful and messy and traumatic, it really can be, especially when, we're not super prepared for it. I don't know how prepared everyone is for this. Another thing that kind of would come up in the full moon circles is people would talk about, what we really need to do is just start a commune. Let's get some land, everyone, let's get together and live in community, in harmony, back to tribal values and and that sort of thing, which I think is beautiful. And that's part of my vision as well. However, I don't think that the majority of people are ready for that right now. I don't even think that a lot of people who have this vision in their minds are ready for that. Um, like I said, it comes with a completely different set of challenges and hardships, and it's very different. We have been accustomed to a certain level of comfort and ease and convenience in our lives. And switching to that kind of societal model will be completely different. And when you don't have a government to blame for your problems, then there's a level of accountability and personal responsibility that comes into play that also I think a lot of people are not fully ready for yet. There are a lot of steps that have to be walked before we get there. And I think it can happen quickly. I'm not saying that, this needs to take generations in order for us to get there. I don't think that that's the case. However, there needs to be, we need to look at this with clear eyes, right? Right now, I think that there's a little bit of the grass is greener on the other side mentality happening right now. And to think that if there was a switch to that sort of lifestyle, that all of the world's problems would go away and we would immediately be living in harmony and peace and everything would be fine. However, I actually don't think that that's the case. I think it will take some work, some planning, some preparation to get there. I think a lot of the preparation is internal. It's a mindset shift, and it's going to come. And but like I said, I think that there's some preparation. I think that there's some planning that needs to go into place there. If we're going to talk about like this metaphor of the rebirth, right? We want to make sure that the baby's room is ready, that we're prepared, that we have the tools and the things in place, that our mindset is as ready as possible, and that we have support structures and little, like, I don't want to call them systems, but they are kind of systems and procedures in place to support what that's going to look like. I don't have all the answers on that today, but I feel like this is where we really need to start thinking, is like, okay, like what would that honestly look like as this world is crumbling? What would it look like to rebuild and to create this other world, this other space? Because it's not going to just magically happen. And that's why I think it's really important for people to consider, okay, well, like, what is my role? What are my gifts? Where would I fit? And what would that look like? I see some people thinking that, well, they need to do it all. They need to know how to hunt and fish and sew and gather herbs and find natural medicines and build the shelter and find water and to purify the water and to do this and that and this and that, all of the things, when that's not really what community tribal living is about. It's about knowing where you fit and what your skills are and what comes naturally to you. What are your passions? What lights you up? What inspires you to create? And I think what was really cool when, 6 years ago, when the world kind of came to a halt, is people had a chance to find some of that again. Like, people were baking bread and becoming creative and finding passions outside of the normal day to day. It was a shakeup for how we were living. And I think it was very cool because that was part of the preparation that's bringing us to this point now. Because as things are coming to a pinnacle as things are coming to this peak where it's very clear that the world is on fire and things are crumbling and crashing down, and the world as we know it has completely changed and will never be the same. That we have had a little bit of preparation, and we are now at a point where it's like, okay, what am I really going to bring into this new paradigm, and what is that going to look like? It's going to be a little bit painful. I think the more that we work together, the easier it's going to be. I've said it before, the safest place for you to be is where you have people, where you have some kind of stability or foundation. And because we got this. I firmly believe this. I really believe that we need to trust, we need to breathe, we need to believe, and we can get through this, and we can manifest that highest timeline, even though the world's on, not even though, but because the world is on fire right now. That is how we are going to manifest the highest timeline. Out of the ashes comes the phoenix, and through these challenges, through these difficulties, through these hard times, these dark times, that's where we find the light. That's where we transmute into harmony and creation and unity. And I think that this is a really exciting time. Maybe I'm the only one. I don't know. You tell me. I would love to hear if you have any other thoughts, comments, questions, concerns. If you want to talk more about timelines, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. And like I said, I am going to be doing some videos on my experiences with the timelines because that's one of my favorite topics. And what's your vision for the highest timeline? I would love to hear that as well. And put it in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, do the things. If this video resonated with you and you think that, you know, there's some people in your life that would benefit from these messages, please share it with them as well. And thanks.